by including a lot of elements
that make the music
feel like it's
not from this world.
What is that time signature though? Hey everyone, my name is Christoph Jakob. I'm a music composer for video games. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is said to have an interesting soundtrack. So I figured it's probably time to check out another track from this game. I have only been playing for like 2 hours so far, so this is going to be an actual blind reaction. And I'm also trying to keep it as spoiler-free as possible. I have actually played all mainline Zelda games, excluding Majora's Mask. That's one that I still need to play at some point. Let's check out the shrine battle theme from The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Let's go! Very minimalist. What is that time signature though? It sounds somewhat positive. I think this is 11/16 or something like that. This tune is interesting in so many different ways. First, let's quickly talk about the choice of chords. So far, the song mainly has a bright and cold sounding synth that is outlining a so-called sixth chord, a major chord that has an additional sixth note on top of its normal major triad. Due to the fifth and sixth being right next to one another, these chords tend to sound clustered, not necessarily dissonant or awkward, just a little compact. In the shrine battle theme, it actually doesn't have this typical cluster quality to it at all. And that is because the notes are quite widespread, meaning the jumps between the different notes are quite large. However, is that even really a sixth chord? Sure, there are 4 melodic notes that imply a certain chord, but we need some context, and that context is often provided by some sort of bass instrument. So, try to pay attention to what the second synth is doing here. Without the second instrument, it sounds like we're hearing an A-flat major chord with an added sixth. But thanks to the second synth, which is almost exclusively playing notes from the F minor pentatonic scale, this might as well be an F minor chord. An F minor 7 chord to be precise. We shouldn't forget the notes that the first synth is playing. This chord seems to move up a whole step every 4 bars before it goes back to the original chord. I have played Breath of the Wild and I'm familiar with the concept of shrines. They tend to feel outlandish and both ancient and futuristic in some way, and the music is trying to strengthen this feeling by including a lot of elements that make the music feel like it's not from this world. Slowly, more and more instruments are being added that don't necessarily make the tune easier to follow along though. There's a single voice or choir instrument that actually only sings one single note throughout the entire tune. That piano that comes in feels very fragmented and broken. An element that was prominent in Breath of the Wild as well. Pretty much whenever Guardians or ancient technology whatsoever was thematized. The bass that comes in after roughly half a minute puts everything we've heard so far into actual harmonic context. And seems like what I said earlier is not quite true. It's actually a combination of the two things that I mentioned earlier. The instruments appear to outline an F-7 chord for 3 bars, and then move to a B-flat major chord with an added 6th. I am surprised about this move, because this kind of chord progression, even though it's only 2 chords, tends to sound very triumphant and heroic. I have not actually played the game much, so I don't know what this could potentially mean, but I find it really interesting. Now that we talked about the chords and most of the instruments, we really have to look at the main element that turns this tune from a slightly heroic and futuristic piece of music into something genuinely outlandish and awkward. Have you tried to hum along, to clap along, or to just count along? That's incredibly difficult, isn't it? Take another quick listen. What is that time signature though? The reason why the music feels so chaotic and odd is because it makes use of a so-called odd time signature. Almost all music out there is written in a 4/4 time signature. Or maybe something like 3/4, 6/8, or 12/8. Those are common time signatures you hear all over music, regardless of the genre or the time period. They usually aren't that difficult to follow along. We're talking about an odd time signature pretty much whenever the music is doing something a little more complex and complicated. You have probably seen some of my Splatoon analyses. Samurai Music specifically loves making use of odd time signatures as well. The main purpose of these isn't just to show what you can do, but it's often to evoke a feeling of unease, discomfort, and sometimes even just plain anxiety. The human brain always tends to try and find structure in things, and if it's unable to do so, it can really throw us off and make us feel uncomfortable. The funny thing about the Shrine Battle theme is that it's not just one odd time signature. It's actually made up of 2, and they are alternating every single bar. We always get one bar in 11/16, and a second bar in 13/16. I tried recreating it. I think this is 11/16 or something like that. Oh. All of a sudden the mood changed quite drastically. It's so hard to follow along. Very interesting indeed. Oh man. Now that both the synths have stopped, it's actually even harder to follow along to what's going on. If I'm not mistaken, we're still alternating between an 11/16 and a 13/16 time signature. While the first half of the tune sounded bright and almost a little positive in a way, the music is definitely starting to feel a little more unsettling now. It still doesn't particularly sound dissonant though. Oh. All of a sudden the mood changed quite drastically. So while it feels chaotic on purpose, I think it's actually quite a sophisticated piece of music. It's just lacking a clearly structured rhythm. It's lacking a distinct melody. And the thing is, writing music for video games is not only about writing bangers and amazing melodies that you can hum along to, it's all about conveying the right feeling that is appropriate for the given circumstances. And that can also mean that you sometimes have to write a crazy piece of music like this. Thanks for watching. Like this video and subscribe if you have not already. Also, Did you know that I've been working on a Splatoon inspired album this year that is going to release on June 23rd? You can pre-order that and listen to 3 of the songs over on my Bandcamp already. If that's something you're interested in, links to that in the description below. Thanks for your support and I'll see you next time.